Welcome to a world where dreams weave through reality, and secrets lie beneath the shimmering surface of an enchanted lagoon. Tonight, let me take you on a journey with Princess Elara, whose heart is drawn to the lagoon's haunting beauty, despite the whispers of danger that surround it. As she steps into the glowing waters, she discovers not only hidden realms, but also a destiny that will change her life forever. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and allow yourself to be gently carried into a realm of magic and mystery, where every ripple holds a story waiting to be told. Sleep tight and let the adventure begin. On the edge of the kingdom, where the forest's secrets met the sea, lay the lagoon that haunted every child's dreams and every elder's memory. Each night, the lagoon transformed into something otherworldly, bathed in an ethereal glow that made it seem alive. Flickering with light like 1,000 stars captured and held beneath the water's surface, the lagoon called to those who dared approach. But the villagers spoke in reverent whispers, insisting that the lagoon was not meant for mortal eyes. It was enchanted, they said, and those who lingered too long at its banks might find themselves drawn in, never to return. Princess Elara had heard these tales from her earliest days, but while others learned to fear the lagoon, Elara grew captivated by it. As the king's only child, she was destined for a life of duty and caution. Yet her heart held a curious wildness that drew her to places forbidden. She found herself lingering on the palace balconies at night, eyes straying toward the dark forested path that led to the waters. The stories only fed her fascination. Was it true that the lagoon glowed with the light of the stars? Could its waters truly pull someone beneath the surface to reveal hidden realms? One evening, restless beneath a sky woven with clouds, Elara could resist no longer. Cloaked in shadows and silence, she slipped from her chambers and wandered through the garden, her footsteps swallowed by the thick blanket of moss and leaves. The forest seemed to hold its breath as she passed through, the trees whispering softly as though warning her away. But she pressed on, each step carrying her closer to the unknown. At last, she emerged at the lagoon's edge. It was as the stories had said, a sight both beautiful and strange. The water shimmered in shades of indigo and emerald, glowing with a light that seemed to emanate from its very depths. As she gazed, the lagoon appeared to pulse, the light swelling and dimming like the heartbeat of some vast sleeping creature. Elara knelt at the edge, reaching out a cautious hand. Her fingers brushed the surface, sending a ripple across the water, which glowed even brighter at her touch. A chill crept over her, not from fear, but from an undeniable sense of awe. She felt as though the lagoon was watching her, studying her with eyes unseen. As she stood, transfixed, her own reflection seemed to shift and change before her. The image in the water warping and stretching as if in a dream. Her face remained, yet beside it, another form emerged, pale and distant, wrapped in a haze that glistened like the light of the lagoon itself. Elara's breath caught, her heart pounding in her chest. She could hardly make out the figure's features, but it felt familiar, almost as though she were gazing upon an echo of herself. Then she heard it, a voice, soft, like the murmur of the sea in a seashell, gentle as a whisper in the night. It called her name, not with urgency, but with a quiet insistence, as though inviting her closer. Elara, it sighed, carrying the syllables as though they were delicate, sacred. Elara. The voice seemed to come from within the lagoon, rippling through the water and sending shimmering waves across its surface. Her reflection faded, replaced by the mist-shrouded figure whose outstretched hand mirrored her own. Despite the mystery, Elara felt no fear. The voice was soothing, woven with warmth and something ancient, something that made her feel as if she had known it all her life. Unable to resist, Elara leaned closer. The voice, sweet and patient, whispered again, weaving itself around her senses until she felt as though the night, the water, and her very being were all part of some vast, incomprehensible whole. A strange pull began to tug at her heart, a gentle force urging her forward, as though the lagoon were inviting her to enter, to uncover the mysteries that lay beneath the shimmering surface. She knew the stories. She knew that if she chose to answer the call, there might be no way to return. Yet something stronger than caution, something deeper than reason, rooted her to the spot. The lagoon pulsed once more, and for a fleeting moment, she thought she saw the faintest glint of a crown beneath the water, as though waiting for her, shimmering with promise and power. In that instant, Elara made her choice. With a final glance at the moonlit sky above, she took a steadying breath and stepped into the glowing waters, feeling their cool touch wrap around her, pulling her down, down into the silent depths of the lagoon. The world above vanished, the air around her thickened, and as the light enveloped her, she felt herself slipping into a realm untouched by time, a place where stories and reality collided. The voice continued to call her name, growing softer as she sank deeper, and Elara felt herself drifting, her heart intertwined with the haunting, enigmatic beauty of the lagoon. She was no longer a princess of the surface world. She was now a seeker of secrets, drawn into the mysteries of the glowing waters, where destiny awaited her, hidden in the depths. Beneath the surface, Elara's world shifted. The light of the lagoon wrapped around her like a veil, its glow dimming as she sank further into the unknown depths. Time became as weightless as the water that held her, the boundaries of day and night dissolving until she felt as though she was suspended in a realm beyond the reach of mortal clocks. Everything was silent, save for the faint pulsing rhythm that echoed through the water. like a heartbeat guiding her deeper into the lagoon's secrets. As her vision adjusted, she began to make out faint shapes swimming just beyond her reach. Shadows drifted in the half-light, creatures unlike any she had seen before. Luminous fish with scales that gleamed like starlight, strange winged seahorses with translucent wings, and eels that shimmered in shades of silver and blue. They moved with a slow, graceful rhythm, each watching her with ancient, knowing eyes, as though they too were keepers of the lagoon's mysteries. Elara tried to breathe, but instead of feeling the familiar tightness of air, she felt a strange ease, as though the water itself was filling her lungs, sustaining her. She reached a hand to her chest in disbelief, feeling her heart beat steady and strong. Somehow, the lagoon had transformed her, allowing her to survive within its depths. And though she knew this was impossible in the world above, here, it felt like a natural truth, woven into the very fabric of this hidden realm. In the distance, a shape began to emerge, faint at first, but becoming clearer as she drifted toward it. A grand palace, larger than any she had ever seen, materialized before her. Towers of coral and pillars of pearl rose from the ocean floor, their edges glinting with a ghostly light. Vast arches wound around the palace, formed from deep-sea stones and ancient shells, and every corner was draped with seaweed that swayed in a gentle current. It was a kingdom sculpted by time and tide, untouched by human hands, timeless and beautiful. As she drew closer, the gates of the palace opened with a slow, silent grace, as if they had been waiting for her arrival. Elara felt her heartbeat quicken as she crossed the threshold, entering the heart of the underwater kingdom. The palace corridors glowed faintly with phosphorescent stones embedded in the walls, casting long shadows that shifted and danced as she moved. Guided by an invisible force, she walked deeper into the palace until she reached a vast hall, the Coral Court. The walls were lined with coral of every color, branching and spiraling in intricate patterns that seemed to change with each glance. Starfish of jade and rubies were embedded within the coral, glittering like hidden treasures. Schools of tiny fish darted between the coral, forming patterns and breaking apart as though they too were welcoming her. At the center of the Coral Court stood a throne unlike any she had ever seen, sculpted from silver and adorned with shells that caught the lagoon's glow. On the throne sat a figure draped in robes spun from the soft hues of dawn and twilight, her hair flowing around her like strands of silken kelp. Her skin seemed to carry the sheen of the water itself, and her eyes, deep, vast, and filled with a sorrow that spoke of centuries gone by, met Elara's with a gravity that rooted her to the spot. "You have come," the figure spoke, her voice carrying a hint of the ocean's song, both vast and endlessly patient. "You are Princess Elara, are you not?" The question was gentle, but it bore the weight of one who already knew the answer. Yes, Elara replied, her voice soft and filled with wonder. I am Elara, and you are the queen of this realm, aren't you? The queen inclined her head, her gaze unwavering. I am. I have watched over this kingdom for more lifetimes than you can count, guarding its secrets, preserving its magic. And now I have awaited you, daughter of the world above. She raised her hand, a gesture of both welcome and warning. But tell me, what has drawn you to our hidden kingdom? What lies within your heart? Elara felt the queen's words wrap around her, compelling her to search within herself. She thought of the nights spent wandering, the longing that had pulled her toward the lagoon despite the stories of danger and enchantment. She thought of the strange, powerful pull that had settled in her heart, a feeling she could not explain, a calling that felt as though it were written in the stars. I don't know why, Elara confessed, her voice barely more than a whisper. But I felt as though I had to come, as if something here was waiting for me, something I needed to understand. The queen's gaze softened, a faint glimmer of sadness in her eyes. You seek answers to a mystery older than you know, princess. But be warned, the path ahead is not for the faint of heart. What you find here may change your world forever. She extended a hand toward a doorway at the edge of the court, a hidden path shrouded in shadows. Follow this path, and you will discover what lies at the heart of our kingdom. It is a gift and a test, both beautiful and perilous. Elara nodded, feeling the weight of the queen's words settle over her like a shroud. The light dimmed as she moved toward the doorway, each step drawing her deeper into the mystery, into the heart of the lagoon and all it concealed. The creatures around her drifted silently, their eyes gleaming with ancient wisdom, as though they too knew what awaited her in the depths. With one last look at the coral court and the sorrowful queen upon her throne, Elara took a steadying breath and stepped into the shadows, ready to face whatever awaited her in the hidden heart of the underwater kingdom. The doorway led Elara down a winding corridor, where shadows clung to the walls, and the light grew faint, dimming as if reluctant to reveal what lay beyond. Each step she took echoed softly, as though the palace itself listened. Here, the silence was thicker, weighted with an expectancy that made the very air feel alive. The path ended abruptly at a chamber larger than the coral court, a room that seemed to stretch endlessly, lined with coral arches that curved and twisted, rising to form a dome above. The ceiling was studded with stones that glowed in hues of violet and sapphire, casting a shimmering twilight over the room. At the chamber's center, half buried in sand and framed by spiraling shells, lay a single object, a crown. Elara's breath caught. The crown was unlike any she had ever seen. It appeared delicate yet unyielding, crafted from rare sea stones and adorned with pearls as lustrous as the moon. Each gem seemed to pulse faintly, as though containing its own hidden light. She took a step closer, drawn irresistibly to the crown's beauty and mystery, sensing an ancient power that hummed just below its surface. It was then that the Queen's voice returned, echoing softly in the stillness. Though the Queen was not there, her words were as present as the water surrounding her. This crown belonged to the first princess of the lagoon, the protector of this realm, a bridge between our world and yours. She was a guardian, a soul bound to both realms, tasked with preserving the balance. Elara felt a strange ache in her chest as the Queen's words washed over her. She could sense the weight of that duty, the longing that must have come with it. A life lived in two worlds, belonging wholly to neither. She knelt by the crown, feeling its energy resonate with her heartbeat, calling to something deep within her, as if awakening a memory she had long forgotten. The Queen's voice softened, carrying a hint of sorrow. Only one of pure heart and courage can wear it. The crown has awaited its new guardian, a soul willing to dedicate herself to both realms. But know this, should you accept, your life will be forever bound to this place. You will hold power, yet you will also bear the burden of protection, the loneliness of one who belongs to both and neither world. Elara stared at the crown, her mind spinning. She felt as though she was standing at the edge of something vast, a destiny she had not foreseen yet sensed all along. The path before her was clear, yet clouded with questions. Could she truly accept such a role? Could she leave behind her life above, the world she knew, to protect a kingdom beneath the waves? But as she lingered, a new understanding settled within her. A strange peace, as though the lagoon's light was filling her heart, dissolving her doubts. The mystery she had yearned to uncover, the pull she had felt from the moment she laid eyes on the glowing waters, all led to this. She had been chosen, or perhaps she had chosen herself the moment she dared to enter the lagoon. With a deep breath, she reached out, her fingers brushing against the cool surface of the crown. The instant she touched it, a surge of light flared, radiating from the gems and filling the room with a blinding brilliance. She gasped, feeling the crown's weight settle upon her head, yet it felt natural, as though it had always belonged there. A vision flooded her mind. Images of the lagoon through ages past, a place of peace and beauty, yet guarded by invisible forces. She saw princesses before her, their forms shifting in spectral light, each one who had once worn the crown, their spirits bound to the waters they protected. Their eyes, wise and serene, met hers with a silent blessing, as if passing down the ancient trust to her, the next in line. The brilliance faded, and when she opened her eyes, she was back in the chamber, the silence as deep as ever. But now, the lagoon felt different, more intimate, as though she could hear its pulse, feel the tides and currents as if they flowed within her own veins. The weight of the crown was light, yet she could sense its power, a link between her and this underwater world that had claimed her heart. In that moment, she knew the truth. She was no longer simply Princess Elara of the land. She had become something more, a guardian bound to the waters, a keeper of the hidden kingdom. The Queen's voice returned softer now, as though echoing from a great distance. You are one of us now, Elara. May you guide the waters, protect the balance, and remember that though you dwell between two realms, you are never truly alone. Elara closed her eyes, feeling the truth of the words resonate within her. She had crossed the threshold, her life now intertwined with the lagoon and its ancient secrets. She was both princess and protector, chosen by the waters to guard their magic and mystery, forever bound to the glow that would rise from the depths each night. Elara lingered in the glow of the chamber, feeling the weight of the crown settle into her very spirit. Her heartbeat echoed with the lagoon's rhythm, as if the waters themselves were breathing with her, alive and bound to her by an invisible tether. She felt a sudden clarity, a sense of purpose woven through her being. The mysteries of the lagoon, once hidden, now felt like secrets she had always known, waiting for the right moment to awaken within her. Slowly, as though in a trance, she began to explore the rest of the chamber, moving along the coral-encrusted walls that spiraled and twisted into patterns too intricate for mortal hands. The walls whispered ancient stories, tales of guardians before her, of struggles between light and dark, of a delicate balance that had always needed protecting. She sensed an ancient sorrow lingering in the stones, a reminder of the sacrifices made to keep the lagoon's power hidden and safe. It was then that she noticed a small alcove, barely visible, shrouded in shadows that the glowing stones did not reach. Within the alcove lay a pedestal, upon which rested a single shell, iridescent and gleaming, its colors shifting with a strange hypnotic light. Drawn to it, Elara reached out, letting her fingertips brush against its smooth surface. The moment she touched it, another vision flooded her mind, darker this time, filled with shadows and troubled waters. She saw a time of chaos, when the lagoon's magic had been nearly lost, when darkness had sought to consume it and spread across both realms. It was the crown's guardian, the princess of that time, who had stood against it, channeling the lagoon's power and sacrificing her freedom to save the kingdom above and below. In that instant, Elara understood that she too might one day face a similar trial, that her role as guardian would demand more than she could yet fathom. As the vision faded, she felt a strange resolve settle over her. She was no longer the princess who had simply been curious about the lagoon's light. She was the bearer of its secrets, a vessel of its power, and she would guard it with her very soul if need be. Footsteps echoed behind her, and she turned to find the queen standing at the edge of the chamber, watching her with eyes that shimmered with a mixture of pride and sorrow. "You have glimpsed the sacrifices made by those before you," the queen said softly. "Do you understand now what it means to wear the crown?" Elara nodded, her voice steady despite the weight of her newfound knowledge. "I do. I am bound to this place, to its magic and its mysteries. I will protect it, even if it means surrendering all I've known." The queen's gaze softened, her expression filled with an ancient wisdom that Elara could feel, like a touch on her soul. "You are stronger than you know, Elara. But remember, to protect the lagoon is to live in harmony with it. The crown is not a burden. It is a bond, a unity between you and the waters. Through you, the lagoon will flourish, and so shall you." With a gesture, the queen summoned a wave of shimmering light that enveloped Elara. In its warmth, Elara felt an awakening, a deeper understanding of the lagoon's language, of the subtle currents that flowed through its depths. She could feel the life around her, the fish, the corals, even the ancient stones, all pulsing in harmony with her own heartbeat. The queen stepped closer, her voice a gentle murmur. "You will return to the surface, to your life above. But now, you carry the lagoon within you. Its magic is yours to call upon, should the need arise. Protect its secrets, for there are those who would seek to wield its power for their own ends." Elara felt a chill pass over her, sensing the queen's warning like a shadow lingering in the chamber. Yet, the crown's weight upon her brow gave her strength, a reminder of the duty she had chosen. She was no longer merely a princess of the land, she was a guardian, the bridge between two walls, charged with preserving the balance between them. The queen stepped back, her form fading slowly, like mist dissipating with the dawn. "Go now, Elara, and remember, we are always with you." With a final glance at the chamber, the shimmering stones, and the ancient shell that had shown her the lagoon's past, Elara closed her eyes, feeling the magic of the crown encase her like a protective cloak. She felt herself rise, the water parting around her as the light grew brighter, filling her vision until all was blindingly white. And then she was back at the lagoon's edge, standing upon the soft earth beneath the night sky. The water was still, serene, as though nothing had disturbed it. Yet Elara felt the weight of everything she had witnessed, everything she had sworn to protect, pulsing within her. The crown had disappeared, leaving only a faint, silvery glow upon her brow, a mark of her new role as the guardian of the lagoon. She touched her forehead, feeling the warmth of the lagoon's power, a reminder of the promise she had made, the duty that now bound her. As she looked out over the glimmering waters, a quiet resolve filled her. She was the hidden crown's bearer, the keeper of the Glowing Lagoon's secrets, and she would guard it fiercely for as long as the stars shone upon the water. The first light of dawn crept over the horizon as Elara stood by the lagoon's edge, feeling the weight of her new purpose settle within her. She touched her forehead, where the faint glow of the hidden crown still lingered, a mark invisible to others but clear as dawn to her. The world around her seemed sharper, richer, as though she could see the threads binding everything together. The trees whispering in a language she suddenly understood, the water humming with life that pulsed in time with her heartbeat. As she looked out over the lagoon, memories of her journey unfolded like ripples across its surface. The palace of coral and silver, the silent knowing creatures that had watched her descent, the queen's sorrowful wisdom. All of it was etched into her soul, a part of her now as inseparable as her own breath. She understood now that the lagoon was more than a mystery or an enchantment. It was a living entity, woven with ancient magic that thrummed beneath the surface, a hidden world bound to her as deeply as her own blood. A soft sound disturbed her reverie, and Elara turned to find her father, the king, approaching along the forest path. His face was lined with worry, but his eyes softened as he saw her standing safely by the shore. The sight of him pulled at her heart, reminding her that she was still bound to her life on land, that the people here too were her responsibility. "Elara," he breathed, relief washing over him as he drew closer. "I awoke to find your chambers empty and feared the worst. The stories of the lagoon. They say it takes those who venture too close." Elara smiled faintly, hearing the echoes of the legends that had once filled her own heart with wonder. "I am here, father," she replied softly. "And the lagoon, it's not what the stories make it seem. It is a place of beauty and wisdom, not of danger. Its mysteries are powerful, yes, but they are not meant to harm." Her father's gaze flickered to the glowing waters, his expression both awed and wary. "And yet, it has claimed you, hasn't it? I see something different in your eyes, as though you've glimpsed something beyond our world." She hesitated, feeling the weight of her secret, the promise she had made. To protect the lagoon, she must keep its true nature hidden, guarding the delicate balance between the two realms. "The lagoon showed me wonders," she said carefully. "It is a place unlike any other, but its secrets are not for all to know. They are part of a promise, one I am bound to keep." The king studied her face, searching for answers in the subtle glow upon her brow, the quiet certainty in her voice. At last he nodded, his expression softening with a father's understanding. "Very well, my daughter. I do not fully understand, but I see that you have found something here, something that has changed you. I will respect your silence and trust that you will do what is right." Elara reached for his hand, feeling the warmth of his familiar grip steady her. "Thank you, Father. But now I am bound to protect the lagoon as well as I always have. Its secrets must remain hidden, and I will guard them with all that I am." As the sun rose higher, casting its golden light across the lagoon, Elara felt a quiet resolve settle over her. She knew that the path ahead would not be easy. There would be those who would seek the lagoon's power, drawn to its glow, just as she had been. But unlike her, they might not come with pure hearts, and it would be her duty to stand as a barrier between the world above and the hidden kingdom below. In the days that followed, Elara returned to her life as a princess, carrying her secret like a pearl hidden in an oyster's shell. Her people saw the glow that had settled in her eyes, noticed her newfound quietness, but they accepted it as a part of the lagoon's lingering enchantment, a curiosity they did not question. Only she knew the true depth of her bond, the promise of the waters that pulse within her, as silent and enduring as the tides. Each night she would return to the lagoon's edge, watching as it lit up with that familiar ethereal glow. She would sit by the shore, feeling the pulse of its magic, knowing that beneath the surface an entire world waited, bound to her as guardian, as princess of both realms. And though she remained in the kingdom of her father, she knew that her soul belonged as much to the water as it did to the earth. And so, as the years passed, the legend of Princess Elara grew, whispered among villagers as tales of the guardian who walked between worlds. They spoke of the princess who ventured into the forbidden waters and returned changed, her heart intertwined with the lagoons, her soul touched by its mysteries. In time, Elara herself became part of the lagoon's story, a figure in the tales told by firesides, a promise whispered among those who ventured too close. The lagoon remained, glowing each night as a reminder of her vow, a symbol of the bond that would outlast her own life, a bond she would carry, guarding the secrets of the hidden kingdom until the very end of her days.